Oh, no, he didn't.
Girl, yes, he did.
Yes, we did. Look at us. We got us a man on the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get us a man, but we have a man joining us on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Right.
Longtime friend, CJ. We're just going to call you CJ today, but we ran into you last year, and we just started talking about relationships and dating, and you just started kind of dropping some jewels on us, and we said we would love to have you on the podcast, and you actually remembered and reached out and said you still wanted to come. So thank you.
Yeah, man. I was like, where's the invite? What happened?
I know, we got busy. We got busy doing nothing. So for everybody that's listening, thanks for listening. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube and Patreon. So when we were talking to you today, we've had a male guest before, but you are a married male guest. And so you have a totally different perspective from our one previous male guest that we disagreed with a lot of what he said.
Yeah.
But let's see what you got. So how long have you been married?
This past April, 21 years.
21.
Yeah.
Now, I met in college.
But we've been together 25.
So were you together in college?
We actually started dating senior year of college. Spring of senior year, graduated, dated, as we were figuring out our professional lives, and then got married right after that. So my
first curiosity is, did you know she was the one when you met her?
It's funny, man. So we joke about this all the time. So we knew each other again. We knew each other. I got to Bama a year before her. So we known each other since our freshman year, but we knew of each other dating other people. So I actually dated a chick for a long time from her hometown, and she knew about it. And then the guy that she dated on campus, I knew him. So we knew each other as friends. And so we were friends first. And so we used to see each other out, and then realized by the time we were about to leave that, we kind of saw each other in a different light and started dating and forming that type of relationship. But I'm not going to lie, I was a typical man. She was one of the fine girls on the yard. So my motives weren't the purest ones when we first started getting together. It was like, oof, I would love to see what she's talking about.
Well, okay, one of you hesitate since you knew each other previously and you knew the people that they had dated previously. Did that slow y'all down at all, or just
no, not for real? Because we had conversations. And Bama, like I said, Bama was like its own kind of small HBCU in itself. So everybody, you didn't know everybody, but everybody who kind of, were involved in activities or in Greek life or sport life or whatever kind of knew each other. So your paths crossed a lot. And so, I had to have a conversation with someone, even though that was over, but I knew him and I knew her. So when she and I were, thinking about dating, I kind of went to him out of respect, even though nothing was going on with him and we weren't that cool. It was still, I didn't want anything slightly because he and I had a great relationship, and he and I had a conversation, but we did make some, enemies on some people I dated, who she was cool with, but then once she and I started dating, they didn't like us anymore. So,
well,
but it was cool.
So like when you said, when did you realize it? So if it wasn't like a first love at first sight or anything like that, when did you realize she was different and she was somebody more than what you wanted to,
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of friendship, relationships. So I don't like all these microwave relationships, which is why I'm glad I was brought up in the era I was. I have this conversation with my sons now because we have twin boys who are graduates from high school and entering their freshman year in college, and everything is social media quick. They don't formulate foundations. They don't formulate relationships. So, I believe in learning about someone and knowing them more so before you get intimate with them, because then exactly, you learn a lot about their levels. You know where their lines are, where the boundaries are. You have a little bit of a respect for the boundaries in the beginning because of that friendship relationship. So when it transcends over to the intimacy part, you have a little bit more of a foundation to lean on. So, even though we didn't see it in the beginning, we were just cool. There was still an attraction there. That's one thing too. You know, there's a lot of times I think, you know, kind of like what women say, you know, in the first meeting of someone, whether there's somebody that you'll be willing to go to the next level with, right? Even from the initial contact. But then sometimes after you get to know each other, you kind of friend zone each other or whatever. We always had an attraction and we always flirted, but we never went past that until, you know, we got a little bit more involved and start communicating on a little bit more consistent basis.
And so then when did you know she was the one?
So this is it. Yeah. So this is it for me. I also believe that a lot of bad relationships can open your eyes to what you need to be looking for once you meet the right person. Because a lot of times you can meet someone, but if you're not in the space to be able to receive them. So I think I had gone through enough drama about the time when she and I met that our communication was on a whole nother level of something that, number one, I wasn't used to, but was something that I definitely needed. So just give you a prime example, the ex I had before her, so the night we met, right? So the night I met y'all, we were sitting at the bar. This is how that scenario would have gone. If I would have been sitting at the bar with y'all, just having a conversation like we were with the ex, when she walked in the room, y'all would have been all type of B's and H's. And why was I sitting there with them, with y'all, and what were we doing and who were they to me, yada, yada, yada. So that's something that's always just been baffling to me, how people just automatically jump to 10 and don't even know what it is. They don't know. It could have been a business relationship. It could have been, you know, something that, you know, just friends or whatever. But the fact that people would go to that end. So the fact that the way my wife or my girl at the time when she was my girlfriend, how she would just handle certain situations. And we would have conversations about things and it wouldn't be automatically perceived as a negative. Now, she paid attention. She watched body language. She was seeing certain things. But the conversations we were able to have, getting in depth about, you know, not only that spirituality, you know, talking about my childhood and things I've gone through and her understanding, she's sharing her things, and we were brought up kind of totally different. But that mutual respect and that communication, I think, was key to me, which is, I feel like it's been the most important part of us maintaining.
You heard me tell us when. When was this? Like, okay,
it was probably,
y'all were friends. She was different.
If we started dating that in spring of that year, spring 95, I knew that she was the one before graduation.
Okay.
Kind of to an extent. What I mean by the one, because I was still still a young dude. So it wasn't the one like, okay, this is the one I'm going to spend the rest of my life with now. But I knew she was the one. Because also to give you a kind of pretext too, back during that time in college, I wasn't used to having committed relationships. Let me say that. Mm-hmm. Most all of my relationships were, and this was mutually communicated with people. I was used to having just casual relationships. I didn't get serious with anyone. So we could kick it, you know, we could do that, but I wasn't in the habit of claiming girlfriends until towards the end of college.
Okay.
So I had a lot of those, what they call, I guess, situationships and entanglements now. That was my college
with you and at Kappa. So we ain't got to say nothing else. We know what that means.
Yeah, I was, but that was it. Like I said, I wasn't misleading people. I was very open and honest with people because,
doesn't make it right.
Yeah, we were trying.
So let me ask you this.
It doesn't make it right, but I also feel like if two, consenting adults agree to do something, then that's perfectly okay if they agree to do it. The problem is, I feel like, though, somebody's feelings change down the line and they don't communicate that their feelings have changed, and that's when stuff go left.
Okay, so
like anytime things change, you got to have a conversation about it. You just can't make it up yourself and then expect the dude to be like, okay.
No, I agree. Now, you mentioned about the friendship. So that's a difference, I feel like, from when we were in college back when you guys met, or just any situation where we might know someone from the block or from school. We're in a place now as adult women, we're meeting men for the first time, usually for the intention of possibly dating. Don't mean we meet him and he's going to be the one. But whether we meet him on a dating app or we're introduced as two singles. What we have been coming up against is men who say, well, let's just be friends and see what happens. And we're like, no, we have to build a friendship before we have a relationship, but I have to be intentional about my interactions with you. I'm not trying to just get new friends.
Yeah, we're not 19, 20, 21 anymore.
Exactly.
And so that's part of it. And that's why I feel like when I have conversations with my male friends, and we do have real conversations. It's not just like we don't hold our boys in our circle accountable, because we do. And so when I have conversations with my friends, that's some of the things that I'm telling them. It's not like it was back in the day when everybody was cavalier, everybody was cool, everybody's trying to figure out what their career is going to be, trying to make money. So it was just having a good time. Now you're looking at situations where people have a limited time before, if they're wanting to start a family, that window may be closing. They want to have that companionship, so you can't really play with that and take that for granted. So going in, you have to be real and open-minded about that. And I don't think a lot of men want to have that conversation.
And why is that though? Especially at this age. I understand younger, but now, what is the hesitancy at this point?
Real talk, boo, I'm going to tell you, it has to be a intentional effort on that guy to want to change. But part of it is we're in that age now where people's ways have been ingrained. They are trained the way they are. And they have to really want to change that behavior. It's like, it was cool when you were 20, but if you've been doing the same thing from 20 to 30 and now 40, and in some cases with some people in our circle that might be 50 or over, it's going to be hard to teach that dog new tricks, right?
And so what are we supposed to do?
Right. What's the solution?
What do we do?
I mean, I think what it is if you have to take it with anything else that you do, you have to pay attention. You have to know certain signs and watch those signs. And if things are not going in the direction or that conversation is not being had the way you would like, you have to cut bait and run. And see, a lot of times I've seen in relationships, the expectation is on the other person to cut them or make that decision for them when you're in control of you every day, all day.
Yeah.
So if something is not going in the direction or it's not what you want it to be, then you need to cut bait and run. Like a friend of mine, real talk, she met a guy and I think they are hitting it off really, really well and are in a good space. But this guy's divorced, already has kids that are almost grown. He's not looking to have any more kids. The lady, the female in the situation does not have any kids and wants to have a family. So now they both are going to have to get to that point. Huh?
You think she should cut bait and run based on that?
No, everything else is perfect. That's when the two of them have to have a conversation, and you have to be real with yourself on what is your cutoff line. Like, where's that line that you're not willing to pass, or what you're not willing to go over? That if that is important to you, and you really want to have kids, y'all need to have a conversation, because this guy's very, very adamant that he's not having kids or doesn't want to have any kids anymore. So does that change the dynamic of the relationship? Is that something that doesn't even be, needs to be discussed on moving forward? Is adoption in the conversation? But y'all need to have that conversation, because if not, every day you're wasting time.
Right.
Okay, so
I don't think.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't think Eunice nor I have a problem with cutting bait and running.
Oh yeah, no.
Do it out. I'm a professional at it.
We do that well.
Because I mean, so and our problem may be the opposite of that, where we may not stick around long enough to know, because we both know what we want, and if you're not lining up in that lane and not showing a willingness to do the things that we think we want to see in a relationship, we will cut bait and run. And I don't think that's the reason we're single, because a lot of times we can't even get to the point where
a first date.
Yeah. And let's go and be real though. Let me go and be real with you too. I'm just gonna go and put it out there. Right now, the numbers are in the favor of men that they don't have to do certain things.
Right.
The numbers are in their favor.
Right.
So if you don't have to work, why work?
Right.
And so that's why I say it has to be, and I have to say there's another one of my homeboys in my circuit that's gotten to that point where he could have probably played this game to the hilt if he wanted to. But he got up into a space personally and spiritually where he wanted more. And so he purposely, stopped doing certain behaviors, put himself in a position, studying the Bible, getting the word, being more active, volunteering more to get him in a space because he saw he wanted something different. Right. Stop even dating. I mean, when I say he literally stopped dating for years, until when he met that person, he was in a space where he was ready for her and she was ready for him. And now they've been dating now, and we probably counting the time on when the marriage is going to happen.
I think I know who you're talking about. And yeah, he's been dating her too long now. So
no, but that's not on him either. That's not on him. That's not on him. There's a lot of circumstances going there.
Let me say this.
You worse than my wife. You just like my wife saying that. I be trying to tell him it's not him all the way. It was a lot of moving factors in that on both sides they didn't want to move quickly.
Listen, it ain't none of our business, but I said what I said. So listen, so the men who are not maturing, they're getting older, but they're not maturing. Okay, so you've seen that firsthand, and that's what we're experiencing. We have been offered this point of, yes, the men are messed up, but y'all need to, and we have been offered all these ideas of accommodations we need to make for these men who haven't matured in order for us to have anything. How do you feel about
don't sell yourself?
Women play in the maturity of a man.
Okay, and then that's why I like that. That's a slippery slope for me when you say maturity. So this is what it is. When you say maturity, a lot of it I don't think is immaturity. It's about, to me, wants, needs, and decision making. So a man is grown. He's providing. He's made a profession. He's successful in that. But if he chooses that he wants to live a certain lifestyle when it comes to the opposite sex, if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. When you say maturity, I don't feel like, okay, once a man decides he wants to settle down. Yeah.
No, I'll give you an example. When I say maturity. I agree wholeheartedly. It's people do what they want to do no matter their age.
Yeah.
Okay? So just because someone doesn't want to get married at 50, doesn't mean they're immature. It just means
exactly.
So that's not my point. The inspiration for this podcast was I was dating someone who was 50, and when he decided he wanted to break up with me, he did so via text message while I was on air doing the TV news.
Very immature. So
that's
I get
it. Right? So that's what we're dealing with immature men who are older.
There's a lot of things that go into that too. So a lot of it could be upbringing. What examples did that person have in their own life growing up from a child, and what did they see? Did they have the best examples on how to deal with the opposite sex? You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of different factors that can go into that. Some people just don't know better. They weren't shown.
So what's our responsibility in them not knowing better?
So your responsibility is to be the best you. See, that's it. That's the thing. Anytime someone is putting pressure on you to change you in order to make them better, that should be the red flag. Like, okay, I'll do this if you were this. So again, going back to this conversation we just had with the young lady Sunday, she dating a younger guy, and his thing was she wasn't in the gym enough, and it wasn't going. She wasn't doing enough in that. And I was like, what?
That's a no.
I was like, what? I was like, hold on. I said, what? I said, that actually came out of his mouth. Like I said, that actually came out of his mouth. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, see, that has nothing to do with you.
Right.
So all you can do, because again, the conversation my wife and I had, we married and we've been married a long time, but we were individuals that came together and brought our individuality together to make the best team and make the best union that we can. If one of us are weak, then the whole union is weak. So all that you need to do is just be the best you. Keep continuing doing what you're doing. But if you don't meet the aesthetic, or there's any type of short things that he's trying to tell you that you're less than, that ought to be the red flag.
I'm talking about
it's not that.
I'm talking about the man being less than.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, and I think from her point, she was saying, she used that example of the text message, but there are men who say, well, maybe I was a little intimidated by asking you out. So if I ask you out jokingly, and throw it out there as a joke, and then you receive it as a joke, then now I'm not going to ask you out for real. It's your job. It's your job to complete that act.
Right. This guy told me who he asked me out as a joke years ago, and I laughed at the joke. Well, he brought it up recently and said, yeah, you crushed my hopes and all that. I said, well, you said it as a joke. Well, it was because I was intimidated. I'm like, well, I took it as you gave it.
And you got to think about it. Like,
women need to finish off the process for men.
The society has put pressures on genders for years. So we have double standards, we have that. So I think for some men who may have some insecurities or have not gotten through that mentally, they never want to be put down or refused or rejected, because that can do something to your psyche also.
Same
so
for
I
women.
think, so I think that's part of it. You know, the more you've experienced certain things, and the more you've built up a skin and a tolerance to be able to take them. For a lot of men, that might not have happened. Mm-hmm. So for him to come to you and first put that bravery on to come and ask you out, and then you shoot him down, that can, I mean, mentally, that can hurt folks. You got folks who traumatized, you know what I'm saying? So
seriously, and I shot him down. Yeah, anybody would hurt from rejection. But if you jokingly, like,
it's a defense mechanism,
and I laugh, that's not the same as being me shooting you down.
It's a defense mechanism. People do it all the time.
He picked it up and basically said, "Oh, okay, tomorrow at 2:00."
Yeah, no, that's not on you. Because again, that goes back to someone needing you to do something to make them feel better, which is typical trait of people who are insecure. Mm-hmm. So again, that could be another. Not saying that couldn't be a good person for you and you could formulate and be good, but those are some of those red flags on the front end that we tend to choose not to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. That then if you would have taken the joke and dated the dude, the next thing you know, 3 years from now, something happened, y'all broke up, you being like, I should have never, dated him from day one.
I've dated insecure before, and you cannot convince somebody that they deserve you. And that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
And I refuse to try. I just
can't.
can't.
I've tried.
I just shut down a lot of my options because I can't do the insecurity. I can't.
Yeah. And see, but that's a thing you have to get through. Like, I still remember, like, my sons, it's funny now, my sons, when they go out with me and we're doing things in my career, and Eunice, I follow you a lot. So the public speaking thing, getting in front of people and speaking. I remember being in college terrified. I remember taking my first public speaking class and I was terrified. But the more I started speaking, the more comfortable I got doing it. I built up that skin to where now I can go anywhere. I don't care if it's 3 people or 30,000. You give me a mic or get me in front of people, I'm loving it. Like, I love it now. But I built that up. So, for that insecurity part, sometimes a person has to go through it. Like, you've been rejected a bunch. No is nothing to you now. So you'll go ask anybody out. You know what I'm saying? But you got some guys that's not used to that.
Yeah.
And what's so funny, it be the ones you think got it going on the most. Like, they ought to be the most confident person out there. But those are the things, because they're not used to the rejection. Rejection can crush them. So it's a lot that go in there. That's not one of those simple why things, because a lot could be behind why that dude act that way.
I always thought that God let the short dudes go through the courage line twice. But you're right. Yeah. They've been rejected so many times. It don't even matter.
Yeah.
They had to fight all. They had to fight all. So now they don't care. Like right now, he don't spit. Listen, I got a homeboy in our circle. He has no fear. When I say no fear, I don't care what the situation is. If it's a group, he going over there and he talking. He don't care. I don't care what the situation is. He is that gung-ho about it.
Has he had any success from that?
He gets success. Because right now he don't care. Like, if you say no, he's just going to turn back around and walk over. He might keep persisting.
And I will say, as a woman in that group, we're like, okay, even if we weren't initially interested in him, it's like, but you know what? He came over
with confidence
and said what he wanted to say.
Confidence speaks volumes. It speaks volumes.
And he is very he's bulletproof. Like, you could probably say no, and he heard no, but he gonna keep doing what he doing, because he's really not fazed with your no. Your no might turn around in the next 30 minutes.
I will say I've seen it. I've seen somebody's confidence make them attractive. Whereas I wouldn't have picked them out, but because of their confidence, you're like, you know what?
Yeah,
but
this third shot,
if you're already attractive and you're confident, is that a turn off?
Say it again.
For a guy, if a guy is already, it was really towards Eunice, if a guy is already attractive, but he's overly confident, is that a turn off versus somebody who may not be as attractive or may not have the features you're...
Well, let me say this. I used to be attracted to really arrogant men, because in my mind, he think he all that, but I see he calling me, so it boosted my self-esteem.
Right. Right.
So that was kind of my bad, thing that I was
Right.
drawn to was an arrogant man. Now I like a confident man.
Right.
With a little drip of Tupac.
Just a slight, yeah.
I want somebody who think he all that, because I think I'm all that, and then we together.
Right.
But I've done the insecure thing, and as much as I can tell you, no, you must be all that if I'm here, they cannot engage in that way. They don't support you in that way. They can't receive it from you in that way because of how they feel about themselves.
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of the problem of the current state. 85% of the women gonna be attracted to that same kind of dude. And these dudes are starting to realize their worth. And they realize the demographic around them, that it's not too many, options out there just like them. And they are capitalizing on it. And that's pretty much what the state of the game is right now.
I think my 50-year-old who sent me the text, I think that was his thing. It was, you know what? It's a whole lot of good, great women out here that ain't seeing a whole lot of men like me. I should be available.
And then I know guys, we going through this too. This is another demographic. You got a guy who might have not been the most popular, attractive guy back in the day. And now is successful, making money, and has become a catch. Now he's living a life that a lot of us lived in our 20s. Right. So he catching up.
Right.
So,
basically, everything. We're doomed.
Yeah, it's hard. I'll tell you.
What's the plan? What do you
It's hard out there. We talked about that night. It's hard out there, but like I said, to me, the people which I love the fact y'all doing this post, the people who stay open-minded and you look at it in a positive outlook, only positivity can only come out of that. You can't shut it down. Yeah. It's like you can't get dumped and then be like, I'm not dealing with men no more. I'm not dealing with a woman anymore. It's par for the course. You just have to keep until you find, because a lot of times too, the timing has to be right too. It could be the perfect guy for you, but the timing, like my wife and I had that same conversation. If me and her would have started dating 2 years earlier, or if I would have got out there and started making money after, when I graduated, and we would have met probably 2 years later, we might not be married right now.
Yeah. And that makes sense. Okay, we're going to start wrapping it up, but I have 2 things I would like for you to answer. 2 separate things, still same vein. Since you seem to be the sensei that your friends come to, women and men, what do you think is the number one thing women are doing wrong in the quest for love, and the same for men? And then I want you to wrap it up by giving me the advice you would give to women and to men.
I think across the board, we've lost common sense. And what I mean by that is the basics of respect and communication. People don't talk no more. Everything is in bites. You can see people break up off of texts because the context wasn't right, or you thought somebody was mad. It could have been a joke, but then you took it the wrong way, and now you got a whole blowout because somebody perceived it the wrong way. People don't communicate anymore. That's the biggest problem I see across the board with a lot of the relationships that I see, make it or don't make it. If something wrong, talk. Express it. I can't read your mind, you can't read mine.
Oh, Lord.
If something is not adding up, say it. If something changed, say it. And that goes on both sides. Like I said, it could have started out as just friends. We just kicking it, we friends. Y'all start hanging out a little bit more, somebody gets feelings for the other person, let them know. If it's mutually, reciprocated, move to the next step. If it's not, stay where you are, go backwards.
Let me say this. Women get accused of being so emotional, so much more emotional than men. A lot of men won't communicate. So the stereotype, or we get blamed for, she always want to talk about her feelings, or she always want to be, what is this, what are we? And the men tend to want to communicate. So a lot of times women end up down that road because they don't want to rock the boat because they know he don't want to talk, or he's not developed enough to talk.
Yeah, and that goes both ways too. Again, society has built it where, it wasn't, masculine for men to communicate back in the day. So that's the way a lot of us were brought up in this age group that we're in. We're just now learning that, especially after we're having kids, and God forbid we're having daughters. you're having to open up and communicate way more than you ever thought you would, because you want to give as much information to your children as need be. But then also a lot of times is according with when that man probably did make himself vulnerable and open up what type of past experience that he's had, that he's like, yeah, I got fooled once with that, you know, because he had a bad experience with that, which that's another thing too. I think a lot of people bring in baggage from other relationships to the new one. Like I said, just because the last girl didn't do me right don't mean that the new one would do the same thing. I gotta give her the benefit of the doubt, or you gotta give her the benefit of the doubt until she proves otherwise and she's not worthy. But a lot of times,
I believe that is true for a man. I do believe whatever a man's previous woman did, he should not believe the next one will do and shouldn't take that. As a woman, the next one gonna do what the last one did. I'm a promise you.
They kind of prove it.
The probability is high. Very high.
Yeah.
Very high.
Very, very high.
Yeah.
And like you said, you gotta look at, like I said, if you're getting the same, but that's another thing too. If you're getting the same output every time, you got to go back to the process, because you're doing something in the process wrong.
I agree.
So it's either like you said earlier, it's either the type of guy you're attracted to might be the guy that you're attracted to and want to have fun with. Mm-hmm. Might not be the type of guy that you want to make husband material, because it ain't gonna work. Because you're gonna probably have to kill him in a year or two.
I took a year off because I started realizing I was the common denominator. All these dudes were different, but they were the same. But I was the only one that was there for all of it. And I took a year off to say, okay, why is it I'm attracted to that? Or what does that mean to me? And so now that I have done that work and I'm very conscious of it, it's still the same guy every time.
Yeah. Yeah. Like how you gonna be attracted to the player? How you gonna be attracted to the player but be mad when he a player?
I'm beyond that. I'm not attracted to players. I'm saying
when I was younger, that was my
thing. I was younger, I got that. Then there are still some women who may still like that whole, I got him because, he's out here in the streets, but I got him.
Right.
Yeah. That doesn't impress me at all.
Yeah, that's not my thing now.
But so yeah, I don't know. It's worth diving into more, I think. But
so let me say this, CJ. Robin is about 10 years younger than me, and is single and wants to build a family with someone. Mm-hmm. So when you see the men, you see more men than she does. First of all, do you have anybody you can introduce her to? Secondly, I don't want to miss an opportunity. Just think about it. You ain't got to answer right now. But secondly, what do you think the main challenge is for men who are her age, who aren't trying to build families at that age? I understand 20 something, but like mid 30 something. What's the holdup for that man? That you think?
Having too much fun right now.
But isn't marriage fun? You've been married 21 years.
Marriage fun, yeah, marriage fun, but also marriage is work. I tell people that too. That's the big thing. Like the wedding look good, the pictures look good, the family look good on Facebook.
Right.
It's a daily grind. We'll tell you, it's been plenty of mornings. I woke up and be like, I could just kill the whole house. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta work through it. You gotta work through it. So a lot of people, you gotta be built to want to put that work in too. And you got a lot of folks where their priorities are on their careers, their priorities on trying to flex and floss or get likes or do things like that. They have lost focus on what's important. For a lot of them, that's cool. But then for a lot of them, they get to, like I said, you get to that age and you realize, man, if I keep moving the way I'm moving, I'm gonna be alone. And so it's just, again, time. And that person, you cannot make that dude get, he or she has to be there. They got to get there on their own. But once they do, those usually are the better, better relationships. When that person realizes, like, hey, man, I can't do this. I can't continue to do this. Like, it's kind of like, remember going out and getting drunk and waking up the next day and starting over and doing the same thing over again used to be fun. Now it takes you 2-3 days to recover.
It hurt too bad. It ain't worth it.
Yeah. So I'd be like, man, I don't even want to drink. I'd just be like, man, I might as well not even drink, man, because I'm going to be hurt, So you have to get to that point.
Well, see, but that's the maturity piece, right? That's the maturity piece.
Exactly.
Right.
It's learning from the past and altering your behavior to serve yourself better. That's the part that I think a lot of times people are just getting older. They're not getting wiser, right? Yeah.
And then you got to look at your surroundings, too. Because a lot of people who may want to, their ideal of commitment may have been one thing because they saw their grandparents and their mother and father been together 40, 50 years. But then you're looking at, again, we're in this microwave society where everybody doing, everything. So,
and back then, our grandparents weren't aware of all the options in the world. Like now,
they
it's
were,
a shopping catalog. You see everybody else that you can click on.
Yeah, see, but again, the times are different because we want to have another conversation. This for another podcast, I guess. But
part 2 with you.
When people be like, "Man, I want that kind of love like my granddad or my grandma and them had." They were married 50 years, but what you don't know until you get 40 or 50, that your granddad also had another family
that part
around the corner. So they were doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It just was different. That time they didn't talk about a lot of stuff. And then it wasn't publicized and it wasn't social media to put people on blast. Yeah. So the behaviors have been going on since the beginning of time. It's not like that dude doing nothing new.
Right.
Yeah.
People have been doing it forever, but now you're in a time where things are being blown and people are putting boundaries. But I feel like if everybody's just real with themselves and being realistic and having conversations, then you're able to work out anything, but you gotta pay attention.
Final word, CJ. Let me tell you, I so appreciate you. I actually received most of what, like 99.9, and we usually don't receive stuff.
Well, she said we were gonna have a man on here. I was like, oh Lord, let me get my little debate.
You was already ready.
And so we're gonna definitely have you back, seriously, because you have spoken light to some things that we were curious about, and you presented them in a way that we actually received it.
Yeah. Love is beautiful. Black love is even better, man. So I applaud you guys for what you're doing because the dialogue is much needed. Sometimes people need to be, brought to light on certain things or whatever. And I think most dudes, when they have conversation with their boys and everybody's being honest, then you'll see us being a little bit more open, communicating a little bit more. In these times, I think with the change that we're seeing with COVID, I think it's forcing people to have to be a little bit more transparent. And so that could benefit Black love, I hope, going forward. So
say it, claim it.
Yeah, man. Okay. I want to be at both of y'all with.
Black love is beautiful. CJ, thank you. We're going to definitely have you back.
You so much.
I really mean this when I say, oh no, he didn't.
Girl.
Yes, sir.
Yes, he did. He did.